Good morning or good afternoon, wherever it is that you are coming from in the world. So stoked to have you guys joining us today for this Farmside chat with Nautical Farms, an incredible seaweed farm based out of Maine. So we're going to kick things off in just a few minutes as folks continue rolling in. But in the meantime, I'd love for folks to drop in the chat where you're coming from in the world and what is exciting you about the session today. What brought you here? And in the meantime, just want to give a big warm welcome to Morgan, Fogg, and Jake Patron. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Tori. We're so excited to be here. We're really honored.
Likewise, pumped. Looking forward to it.
Gorgeous. Well, it's a joy and an honor to have you guys here with us. I know as co-founders of Nautical Farms and being farmers, and also both having other full-time jobs and amazing things happening in your life. It is always a beautiful balance of how to spend your time, and it's such a joy to have you guys here with us. So thank you so much for that one. And we also have Maya Harrison here of the Circle of Creatives. What's going on, Maya? How you doing this morning?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here. So excited to ask some questions and dive deeper with Morgan and Jake today.
Gorgeous. Me too. Well, I'm Tori. For those of you that I haven't met yet, I am the Director of Partnerships and Help Steward Community here at Farmers Footprint. And we're so stoked to have you guys for this Farmside chat. So thank each of you for being here as well. This is such a gift and a joy and a huge part of, our work here at Farmers Footprint, being in the business, if you will, of uniting, inspiring, and empowering this regenerative movement towards food systems as a means to restore human and planetary health.
A video first.
Yes, awesome. And if y'all are in the mix in the crowd, we'll go ahead and just mute if possible. There will be plenty of time for questions later. So thanks so much for that. Yeah, I just wanted to open up the space and share a bit more. Recently, Jake and Morgan of Nautical Farms were featured in our Meet a Farmer series, which is an opportunity to kind of step into this theory of change that we have been so lucky and honored to come alongside farm and land stewards and ocean stewards. Now, this is our first ocean farming series, which we are so stoked on. But really such a blessing and honor to center this work of storytelling and community building and really be a vehicle for farmers to spotlight this human mosaic of lived experiences within this community. And we're really, really just honored to have space today to deepen the conversation with this community, and give you guys a chance to hear a bit more about Morgan and Jake's story and ask them some questions directly. So I want to go ahead and kick things off first with a video just to kind of drop us into the space. Maya, who is an incredible writer and focused on the food system, and Leah Mirasovich, who is a member of our team and a major content producer within the space, both had a chance to head out to Maine and visit Morgan and Jake, interview them, and really get a chance to develop some beautiful content and videography. So here is a video that came through as a result of them spending some time out on the water with Morgan and Jake. So let's go ahead and drop into this beauty and this goodness, if you will. Can you guys see my screen here?
When I think about regenerative ocean farming, it's a lot about how are you improving the space that you're working in? Are you leaving it better than when you found it? I feel that we truly are. It's just a guilt-free, wholesome product.
I am Morgan Fogg, and I'm a seaweed farmer.
Hi, I'm Jake. I'm a seaweed farmer.
And we are Nautical Farms. Nautical Farms is a regenerative ocean farm first. So we grow seaweed and mussels. Not only is the contents of the product really sustainable, but the packaging and our entire system is sustainable.
It's really rewarding to know that I can grow seaweed, I can benefit the environment, and then I can turn around and put that in a compostable craft paper and stay true to it every step of the way. Certainly with difficulty, but just with pride.
We practice what's called polyculture farming. So we are able to grow multiple different species of seaweed and shellfish at the same time. Those things benefit off of one another because they can share nutrients and resources that they need to grow. We're an ocean farm, so we're not wild harvesting necessarily. We are farming all of the seaweed that we grow, which I think is really important. We are able to put in what we're growing, let it grow for a number of months, and then remove that same resource. So we're not extracting anything extra.
We're suspending it at a certain depth. It's not really in a place where a lot of animals and species in the ocean exist. It's a section 5 or 6 feet below the surface of the water where it's just really doing nothing but good. You look at what you're giving back to the ocean in return of looking at a few buoys on the surface for a few months out of the year. You're sequestering a lot of carbon out of the water, and you're putting this food back on the supply chain for the people. There's very few cons, if any, to the seaweed farming structure.
Our long-term mission is to provide jobs in the area, so keep local kids here, hopefully.
Raising young ones into the industry, you can give grandfathers and fathers a lot of comfort knowing that there are more options to keep their children on the water other than just commercial fishing.
Wow, team, so deeply inspiring. I just want to like be on in that whole process and like touching that glistening seaweed alongside you. And like, I know it's probably there's cold mornings and all that goodness out there, but from a third party perspective, it's just so beautiful, so inspiring to hear your guys' work and see it and touch it and almost like smell it in that sense. Gorgeous. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Well, I just want to share a little bit of background on Nautical Farms, and then Morgan and Jake, and then where we're headed today is we'll go ahead and finish kind of like sharing a bit of an overview. Maya's going to jump in and ask Morgan and Jake some like really in-depth questions so we can all kind of step into their work in a powerful way. And then we're going to turn the mic to you guys. So you'll have a chance to drop your questions in the chat and ask some questions to Morgan and Jake directly. Also, we can have folks kind of jump in and, you know, get off mute, the beauty of this virtual space, and ask your questions and curiosities and get some curiosities answered amidst this. So plenty of things to dive into today. So to give y'all a brief sense of Nautical Farms and the incredible work that you guys are doing, Inez will go ahead and drop in the Meet a Farmer feature into the chat. But Nautical Farms, you guys are based out of Maine, and you're cultivating 3 types of certified organic and regenerative seaweed native to Maine, which is so beautiful. I love that you guys are like really stepping into that biodiverse space. You guys are harvesting thousands of pounds of seaweed per year in order to harness the healing properties of the ocean to create your array of beautiful beauty, apothecary, and culinary products. So Morgan, I know that you stepped into this work, you know, from your background in building community and event production. And Jake, you're a generational fisherman and operations director. Although you both grew up in Maine, your seaweed story started thousands of miles from the sea. And while living in the Midwest, you guys began learning about the power of seaweed, which brought you back to your roots and led to the start of Nautical Farms. So we're really excited today. Kind of some of the intentions and discussing like what do we really want to bring forth to this conversation is just for you, everyone listening, to leave feeling better about your understanding of ocean farming and its benefits for the planet as well as our health, and that it can be used in so many ways, not just eating it, but you know, in your home, on your body, in so many different aspects and arenas within your life, and really also to give us a chance to support Nautical Farms work. So I think that's one of the main calls to action amidst this too, is they have incredible products. You guys have been so gracious to gift our community a 20% discount code on all of your products. So go ahead and check that out. Inez is going to drop it in the chat as we go along, and all of the proceeds from that are going directly to you guys. Nautical Farms, Farmers Footprint is just honored to support and share your guys' story in that sense. So I'm going to pass it to Maya, our lovely Maya, to give you guys a brief sense of her background. Maya is a food and environmental activist, student, and writer. And Maya, I just love your mission statement to connect people back to the earth through everything involving food, from cooking and writing, educating, and farming. So Maya had a chance to interview Morgan and Jake, and you know, the Meet a Farmer piece that you're seeing on the Farmers Footprint website was written by Maya. So she is had some time to really go deep. And she's going to lead us through kind of an arc and take us a little bit closer to your guys' work. I'll let you guys take it away. And one more small caveat, as curiosities come up amidst this, feel free to pin them in the chat. We'll swing back a little bit at halfway past the hour, and then that'll be the time where we'll do some Q&A from the community. So thank you guys so much for letting me kick things off and speak, and I will be quiet now.
Awesome. Thank you much. Thank you so much, Tori, for that introduction and showing the video and everything. I'm so excited to ask you guys these questions and share it live with everyone. And we're so excited because you guys are our first aquaculturists that we're featuring for Farmers Footprint. So obviously that's very different than land farming. And so the first question I wanted to ask you guys was, do you guys mind walking us through the yearly cycle of planting and harvesting and what that looks like for you guys for seaweed farming?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Tori, and thank you, Maya, and thank you for all the work Farmers Footprint has done, first of all, to get us even to this point. It's been really awesome, and you guys have set the bar so high. So thank you. Yeah, I can explain a little bit of the seaweed farming cycle. I think a lot of people who are just learning about seaweed farming for the first time, especially here in the US, because it is a unique situation here in the US, both the West Coast and the East Coast farm differently, actually, and the structure is different. There's a lot of difference in what we grow, but a lot of people are, I think, surprised to learn that we don't grow all year round, and we don't grow in the summer, actually. So our farming season starts in the late fall, as the water on the East Coast is starting to cool pretty significantly. We plant our seaweed spores. So we get our seed from a hatchery. They're spores, but we call it seed. And that is what we outplant into the ocean. And we do that, like, give or take sometime in October, November. It kind of depends on the weather and what's happening there. But we will plant it. We'll go pick it up from the hatchery one day. We usually put our seed out. We just, we don't actually do the full planting process, but we get it out in the ocean so that it can start to breathe and get a lot more nutrients and sustain it until we fully plant it, which is usually just a few days later. And so then we'll go out and we actually apply that seed to line and create what is very similar to like an underwater garden, an underwater vertical garden. If people are familiar with indoor vertical gardening, it's a great way to kind of help visualize what that looks like. And it grows all winter long. We check on it periodically throughout the winter to make sure that no crazy big storms have come through and kind of disrupted the entire structure, that things are still intact. And as long as that's the case, we may add a little bit of flotation or a little bit of weight to keep the seaweed at a certain depth. And then we, come spring, we start to harvest. So we start to monitor it a lot more come like April or so, even a little bit sooner than that. So checking weights, keeping an eye on temperature. And then before it kind of warms up too much, we start harvesting and pulling it out. And so we sun dry all of our kelp. So that for us looks like going out on a boat, hoisting up the big lines, cutting it off, putting it into totes, and then bringing it to land where we let it sun dry. So we hang it out on lines, we utilize greenhouses. We've used a whole bunch of different methods to get that done, depending on the season and the resources we have available. So, and then from there, of course, we package it into the beautiful different products you see on our website.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. It was such a special experience to go from being on the boat with you guys to going to how you guys sun dry all of your seaweed in a very sustainable way. And so my next question is about the relationship between land stewards and sea stewards, and talking about agricultural runoff into the ocean, and more specifically talking about glyphosate and how that affects your guys' ecosystems. So I was wondering if you could touch on if you've seen a noticeable difference from agricultural runoff, and if you guys are connected to many land stewards and farmers, and if you guys communicate with land stewards and farmers and that connection. And if not, what are you curious to discuss?
Cool. Yeah, I can start. And Jake, if you want to like add any additional, Jake's driving today, everybody. We're sorry. Usually we would do this together, but he has a busy day. But yeah, I
Same
can
here,
kick us
Morgan.
off.
Not to cut you off, Morgan, sorry, but
Oh, go for
I'm
it.
almost to where I'm going and I can jump in wherever. So don't hesitate. Call me in on anything you want. I'm happy to participate 100%, just to let you know. Go ahead.
Cool. Okay, sweet. Sounds good. Well, I can kick us off. So yeah, I would say like first, I think that any runoffs are certainly a potential threat to seaweed farming and to the ocean ecosystems for sure. We've seen that algal blooms and various things that can happen in the ocean when that becomes too prominent in an area. So absolutely, it's something that we keep an eye on. We're fortunate that the state of Maine is really rigorous in its infrastructure and like policies and leasing, where you do have to be really cognizant of that sort of stuff being around you or within a certain vicinity of your farm in order to even have a farm, an ocean farm present. And so we're lucky that the state of Maine has the aquaculture in Maine has been around for so long that they've really figured a lot of that out. But so I'll also just say that like us personally, and I mean, really like knock on wood, we haven't had to deal with this stuff directly. We don't have a great big industrial farm nearby where we've had to really worry about that sort of stuff. But what we do know about seaweed farming in general, and what we know from other studies that have been done, is that seaweed can actually play a huge role in cleaning up these sort of situations, which is really, really cool. So there's been studies, for example, I know in like Long Island Sound, and I know there's been other places along the East Coast as well. I'm sure West Coast, they're either, if they haven't, they are talking about it. But you can plant seaweed farms, and because seaweed is such an amazing filter, it can clean the water and rejuvenate the ecosystems in these areas where we have a lot of runoffs, and reduce harmful bacteria and therefore reduce the chances of algal blooms. And so that seaweed, of course, doesn't go on to be used for human consumption, but doesn't mean that it's a waste or it's all for nothing either. It can still be utilized, which is really cool. So yeah, I would just say like we've been really fortunate that we haven't had to personally come across that. I do know there are neighboring towns who have or towns that are not too far away. I guess they're not directly neighbors to us, but who have dealt with similar situations. I wouldn't say industrial farming on land, but fish farms or other similar things. So yeah, it's certainly something that we're aware of, but we've been really fortunate it hasn't impacted our farm directly or our area. But Jake, if you want to chime in and say anything else about that, feel free.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great question, and it's really interesting to think about. There's a pretty good amount of resources out there for kind of keeping track of what can prevent you from, what really gets your mind thinking about this is your organic status. There's a number of seaweed farms in Maine. It grows and then kind of goes back down as people drop out, but there's an even smaller number of seaweed farms that are organically certified. And when we went through that process, it really got myself and Morgan thinking about where are we going to locate this farm so that as the crow flies and how the tide runs, that we're not near anything that could compromise our organic status. And then we even took it a step further to go beyond what the kind of organic mapping requirements are, and really just wanted to know personally what to look for beyond what they require. So as far as agriculture goes in Maine, I mean, one thing to keep an eye on that we kept an eye on that really wasn't even asked about was blueberry grounds. Blueberries are pretty prominent in Maine, and some blueberry grounds are organic, but a lot are not, and those can be treated with things near the coastline that are inorganic that you don't want running into the water near your farm. So there really weren't any inquiries from our organic certification that kind of demanded we look into stuff like as far as growing, but we still kind of did that due diligence. So blueberry ground runoff, another thing to keep an eye on, the wild harvest seaweed folks need to keep an eye on, as well as golf courses. They can use all kinds of crazy stuff on their grass that you really want to keep in mind. So if there's a coastal golf course, again, like Morgan mentioned, none of these things affected us, but we strategically, in a way they did, because we had to strategically place our farm in a location where what is on the requirements right now that we need to keep an eye out for? And then what can we do even beyond that might become a regulation later, or maybe it will never be a problem, but peace of mind for us to know that we're not just doing the bare minimum. We're in the cleanest water we can find in the best location. And it becomes slim pickings when you have to start worrying about these other things, like Morgan mentioned as well, industrial fish farms. That is a form of aquaculture. You would think being a seaweed farm, a form of aquaculture and growing mussels, that you guys are going to be buddy and all partnered up. But there are some large scale fish farms out there, industrial size fish farms, that we cannot be within certain miles of, because of what they treat their fish with can compromise your organic status as well. It's a lot to keep in mind. So maybe not necessarily just agriculture, but just a lot of things together. The blueberry grounds kind of cover the agriculture. You got the golf courses, you got the fish farms. There's a lot to keep an eye on there, and those things aren't going anywhere. So as kelp farms want to grow and become organically certified, there will be a lot of things to watch and make sure that you're not getting near to compromise your quality on.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we do heavy metals testing as well, and various testing on our water and our seaweed to make sure that it falls within safe limits. And also, I'll say it's not lost on us that, although we are fortunate that we haven't had to directly worry about industrial farming or runoffs very close to our farm site, it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect the industry as a whole. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't ultimately affect the health of our ocean, which ultimately impacts all of us. And so it is something that we do keep an eye on, and we're very cognizant of like what's happening in our area. Yeah, shoot, I had another thought. I was going to share it, but I think I might have lost it. Oh, I guess to the second part of your question, it would be amazing to connect with any land stewards that would like to talk about this further. I would, encourage anybody who lives near the ocean and who's farming, to look into seaweed farming, to see if it's possible in your area and how that might benefit the ecosystem near where you're farming. And also, I would have a ton of questions as to if you've looked into using seaweed before for fertilizer or to feed it to livestock, or we can get into all of kind of those benefits, but there's so many things that seaweed can be used for, and not just for farming itself, but to benefit and enhance land-based agriculture. So I would love to know if there's a lot of farms out there who are starting to adopt some of those practices that we're now kind of seeing more frequently in the mainstream media when seaweed is talked about.
That's so great. Thank you guys. I remember you guys talking about the importance of collaborating with other ocean stewards as well, and how it is a communal space, and you have to be mindful of your environment when you're going into these other generational fishermen and women. One of my next question is related to just the health of the planet and the health of our bodies. One of my favorite quotes is that when we heal the planet, we heal ourselves. And when we heal ourselves, we heal the planet, vice versa. And I think seaweed meets that intersection quite well. And so I was wondering if you guys could touch on the health benefits of seaweed. I don't think a lot of people know the amount that seaweed can heal the body and the mind. And then the second part of that question is talking about climate change and how seaweed plays a role in healing the planet. So
yeah, what a loaded question. There's so much. There's so much to say. Let's talk about the health benefits first. We can talk about human health. It's incredible. So, the benefits are really immense. Seaweeds are incredibly nutrient dense. So, when we think about just the vitamins alone, vitamins A, B, C, D, E, you name it, K, there's calcium, potassium, phosphorus, iron, iodine. There's a whole list of, trace minerals that are just absolutely incredible, all of which play vital roles in our endocrine system and our adrenal system and our thyroid health, which in turn affect our brain health. and our hormones. Iodine has a huge impact on our hormones, especially for women, pregnant women, small children. Seaweed has a ton of omega-3s. We talk about eating fish all the time for the idea of like getting this omega-3 or taking an omega-3 capsule. And the beauty of seaweed is that fish get that omega-3s from eating algae and from seaweed. So what better way to go straight to the source than to just eat seaweed, which is also very sustainable. So another thing that people really, I think, like about seaweed is that there's actually a high amount of protein in just a small amount of seaweed in comparison to other land-based vegetables, which is really cool, even more than soybeans based on weight. So that's really awesome. And then, that's, some of the internal benefits, but externally, it's amazing for your hair, skin, and your nails. It strengthens and stimulates all of those things. Yeah, I mean, it's just the kind of the list goes on. It's really like a, we'd like to say we have the, kelp capsules, and you can take one and kind of get like everything you need from one little capsule, because it's really so powerful. Jake, is there anything else about health that you want to call out before we talk about like the planetary benefits?
I think you definitely covered a lot of that there. I mean, outside of direct health benefits, one thing we always point out to folks as well, like with the flakes and stuff, is such a great salt substitute too. We're surprised with kind of the older generation that's attracted to our products, especially we learned this weekend with some in-person encounters, but the ability to substitute salt. So folks that need to watch their sodium, can still get a salty kind of addition to their meal without the high amounts of sodium by using kelp, which in and of itself can be a great health benefit to somebody, just by reducing their sodium intake and getting all of those minerals as well, and still getting that flavor in their food that they're after. That's really opened my eyes recently as to how much of a benefit that is to people and how important it is to so many people. But aside from that, you definitely nailed it with the benefits there.
Yeah.
Before we dive into the planetary benefits, do you guys mind going over a few, or what you guys sell on your website and the benefits that comes from those? You mentioned capsules, but I think this is an awesome opportunity to share the variety of things that you guys do with seaweed for health, for people's health.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of think of our products in a couple different buckets. We have like our kitchen products, the bath products, and then the apothecary products. So the kelp capsules would fall into that last category. Bath products, we do bath soaks. So all of these benefits can be absorbed through our skin, which is also really, really amazing. If seaweed is not your most favorite flavor profile, then you do have the benefit of getting it into your bath or in your shower. So we have various products that you can actually hang from your shower head and kind of squeeze that have sea salt as well, which is really incredible. If you want to feel like you just stepped out of the ocean straight out of your shower, then that's highly encouraged. It feels really, really good. And then we also have flakes, which I think Jake kind of mentioned. So we flake both our sugar kelp and alaria, which are two different types of seaweeds, both brown kelps that are native to Maine, but they do have slightly different flavor profiles. Sugar kelp being a little bit more much more salty and savory. There's lots of umami flavoring that comes from the sugar kelp. And then the alaria, which is a little bit more mild, a little bit more nutty. I kind of think of it as I love olives, and it kind of has like a similar olivey, olive type flavor. So and of course, it depends on what you pair it with as well. But we flake those things. So we have flakes, which Jake mentioned can be like a great salt substitute. If that's kind of, if you're, it's also really great if you're like new to eating seaweed, because you can kind of just add a little bit every time you cook, and it's not going to overwhelm a dish, but it's a great additive. And we also sell the whole leaf version. So there's small bags and then there's big bags as well. We have a ton of people who support us, thankfully, who love to just snack on the seaweed straight out of the bag. And it is very delicious if you really like that salty snack. So we offer that as well. And I think that's a little of everything for the most part.
Great. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. thank you.
Yeah, so if you guys want to touch a little bit on seaweed aiding in the climate crisis, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so the planetary benefits of seaweed were like another huge reason I think that I was really drawn to getting involved with kelp. Of course, it's amazing for human consumption, and we wanted to play a big role in sustainable food systems. But the planetary benefits, I think, continue to amaze me, and there's still so much research that's being done. So I think over the next like 5-10 years, it's going to be really cool what we see happen with seaweed. Yeah, I mean, let's see. For starters, like seaweed requires no fertilizer or dry land to grow. It also doesn't require any fresh water. So it's really like a completely independent resource in the way or an opposite to land-based agriculture, right? Where we do need, dry land and water to grow our vegetables and livestock. So that's incredible. But then we also know, and this is like something that's also increasingly being studied, but seaweed does something really cool that's called the halo effect. And so when seaweed grows in the area that it's growing in, it removes CO2 from the water, and that in turn makes the water less acidic in the surrounding area. So it's often called like a halo because it kind of affects that surrounding area. And when it does that, it actually benefits the ecosystem in general. So as we know, when water gets too acidic, it affects the shells of oysters and mussels and a whole variety of organisms that live in the ocean. We're seeing a lot of die-off because of that. And so where we grow seaweed, we actually have the opportunity to strengthen those ecosystems, strengthen the shells of shellfish, oysters, mussels. We grow mussels on our farm, which do benefit from that like polyculture farming. What else? I mean, seaweed also, this is also like something that's talked about quite a bit, but feeding seaweed to livestock can reduce methane emissions by up to 90%, which is huge. And fertilizer. So fertilizer as well, adding seaweed to either adding it to your fertilizer or using it as a fertilizer puts so much good nutrients back into the soil. I mean, there's just, again, like a whole list of benefits. Jake, if you want to chime in too, and with anything else.
Yeah, I think I've spent some time thinking about like how to quantify the benefits of seaweed. Like, I mean, you got to kind of zoom out and stop only thinking about like just what seaweed does while it's growing and the benefits of, the carbon sequestration out of the water and, the habitat provided while it's growing and the fact that it doesn't need any fresh water to grow. It doesn't need any fertilizer. I mean, it's incredible what it does while it's growing, but to try to quantify what it can do for you after it's done. I mean, it's this magical product. If somebody came to you and said, I'm going to invent this thing that requires no fresh water, no fertilizer, no, anything that you need to cultivate this. It's just going to be a gift from Mother Nature. It's going to be here for you magically. And then you're going to be able to take this thing and eat it and become, get the health benefits from it, feed it to a cow, get health benefits from it for a cow, some carbon emissions from a cow, whatever it may be. Or even just look at that fertilizer thing that Morgan touched on. It can put nutrients back into the soil, which we all know we're degrading, the soil that we're using for mass scale agriculture, but it can also have a far greater water retention than other fertilizers that aren't certified organic seaweed fertilizers. If you use like a chemical based fertilizer, large scale fertilizers, it doesn't have that kind of water retention that seaweed does. So not only does the seaweed not require fresh water to grow and it benefits the planet while it's growing, you can then acquire it from the ocean and turn it into a certified organic fertilizer, which you can then put on your large scale farm and then save on freshwater watering those plants because the water retention is so good. You can use seaweed based fertilizer in literally drought conditions. It's hard to really wrap your mind around how beneficial seaweed is. And that one is my favorite example alone right there, just the fertilizer example. And then it can be turned into so many other things, biofuel, in the amount of chemicals that it can replace, and just the amount of resources that you're saving by replacing a chemical that requires petroleum and chemicals and manual labor and all these other things to create this one chemical that can be used in toothpaste or hair, not to mention the fallout of that after you use it. You can replace all those things and all the resources that it takes to make those things. A lot of them you can replace with seaweed. It's I don't know. I feel like it's impossible to really measure how beneficial it is. But it's so important to continue to talk about it and put it to words, like conversations like these, to really help people wrap their minds around it, for sure.
Wow, so great, so inspiring. And I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg with the possibilities of seaweed. I want to be mindful of our time and switch it back to Tori to take over for the Q&A so everyone can have the opportunity to ask you guys some questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you guys.
Guys, wow, I am in like deep inspiration mode. This is really incredible. And Jake, that full circle arc of, you know, what's happening in the ocean, how it can be connected and kind of like benefit what's happening on land, I think is such a testament to like the process of regeneration, and how the like really the interconnectedness is just such a beautiful piece of how we all are being a part of these solutions and in conversation, and really getting innovative around ways that this can, you know, bridge those different areas between land and sea. So just huge kudos to you guys, you know, so deeply educated, and it's such a testament to like how long you've been in this work. But wow, I just feel like you guys are like a living, breathing resource right now, like speaking for ocean farming and kelp and all of that goodness. So thank you, huge time. And this is, as Maya said, just the tip of the iceberg. So just to give you guys a roadmap of where we're headed from here, we're going to spend some time in Q&A. I see Sarah has her hand up. If anyone else wants to raise their hand, you can head over to participants and there should be a button that says raise hand. So go ahead and get your hands up. We'll pop you guys up and allow you to ask them some questions. And it looks like we may have some questions coming through the chat. So I'll go ahead and read those out if anyone doesn't want to pop up. And then from there, y'all, Morgan and Jake are going to head out at the top of the hour, but we'll all stick around if you guys want for a few extra minutes for the community roundtable, so we can just kind of keep sinking into some of these topics. So know that that is coming as well. All right, I'm going to bring up Sarah. Sarah, if you want and you have the ability to jump on video and want to show us your face, feel free to join us. And can you hear us?
I'm not video ready today.
That's amazing. No worries.
But so I'm trying to understand where you plant the seaweed in the ocean. Do you own that part of the ocean, or how does that work? Does that make sense?
It does. It totally makes sense. I'll let Jake answer that question because he is our king of ocean leases. So Jake, take it away. I'll let you explain that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. And that's almost always the first question we get when we talk about seaweed farming. So when that was the first kind of challenge that we had to face when it came to seaweed farming, and we started facing that challenge before we even moved back. As was mentioned at the top of the call, we were living in Colorado when we decided to come back. We have an organization in the state of Maine called the Department of Marine Resources, and they handle a lot of things from commercial lobster licenses, regulations, rules, laws, game wardens, all kinds of things. They have a commissioner. They're a big organization. They make millions of dollars in tag fees and license fees and things like that. And aquaculture is no different. There's a division in the Department of Marine Resources in Maine that handles aquaculture leases. So we pick a place in the ocean. Somebody like myself that's grown up fishing in this community, and I know the areas, it's easy for me to figure out where is not going to interfere with existing vocations. Other folks might need to do more homework, but we'll pick a location in the ocean. We'll say this is where we're going to put our farm. Here's why. There's about a 30-page application for the DMR that comes from that. And you need to fill out this application, equip it with vicinity maps to scale, the ebb and the flood of the tide, geographical coordinates for each corner and the center points of the farm, notices to riparian landowners. It's a pretty lengthy process. It takes about a year to go through the system. And it's relatively affordable. Initial application fees, depending on the size of the farm, can be like a couple $100. Renewal fees each year can be, around $100 per acre. and it will go before local boards in each town. So select boards, we have things in small towns in Maine that aren't big enough towns to have select boards and committees. They'll do committees like a clam committee. Like I promise that's a real thing. We have a committee of people who just get together and talk about the well-being of the clams in the neighborhoods, because it's such an important resource here. So these people all get together. We also have what we call harbor masters. Some of you might be familiar with a harbor master. You get all these signatures, you send it into the state, takes about a year. Opens up to public comment, so folks can write in, and if enough public comments are requested, you have to hold a public town hearing. You can go, you can inform the public and have a discussion with them. And then leases run on different terms depending on the lease. Some are renewed yearly, some are renewed every 4 to 5 years, and some are good for about 20 years. And as long as you keep your conditions up and there isn't any real crazy controversy or drama around that lease, then you don't technically own it, but you do have the ability to say to a fisherman or somebody else, like, hey, you can do whatever you want around my farm, just not in the middle of it. Please don't interrupt it. And again, we spend an insane amount of time on our social license for making sure that we're not in anybody's way. The last thing we want to do is show up as the new kids on the block and act like we own the place. So that's in my opinion, one of the most important parts of aquaculture is kind of ties back to that question.
And so do you guys offer like consulting services, or like if someone, I mean, I'm not saying that we are going to, but if we were like, you know what, I want to move from Pennsylvania to Maine and start a seaweed farm, is there help, or like even just to even begin that train of thought? Like, are there, people that can help?
We've done a little bit in the past, working with a few folks to help them with applications. We personally don't offer any services like that out there in the public. I think Morgan could speak a little bit more to, there are some folks out there, I believe are like our nonprofits that try to help with things like that. Our usual kind of sort of motto here at Nautical Farms is if you come to us and say you want to move here from out of state and start a kelp farm, I'm probably going to tell you don't. And I don't mean to sound like, negative about it. It's just we have such a massive working waterfront community here with so many people that are qualified to work on the water immediately without, going through all those hurdles. I don't say don't because I don't want you to. I say don't because it's being you have such a leg down on that. But a short answer to your question is there are some folks out there that can help with those things. Morgan can speak to who those folks might be and where would be a good idea to look. And by all means, it is very possible for somebody to come here and do that and and move forward with it. I think the first time I did an application, it took me 2 weeks. I can do one in 4 hours now. So certainly worth it for some new folks in the game to find help. And there are avenues out there. There's some folks working on things like field manuals and guides and things like that. If you look around and kind of network, I think you'll find some of that stuff could be easily accessible.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, certainly reach out. We can always email some resources. One, like, for sure that you could look into is a nonprofit called Green Wave. I believe they are actually out of Connecticut, if I remember correctly, is like kind of where their home base is. But they do farmer trainings in person. I think what's important is that you get that training. So especially like a lot of people, hear about seaweed farming and they want to jump right in, and that excitement is amazing, but it does require, some comfortability, like on boats and managing boats and marine resources. And there's a lot of gear that a lot of people don't use on land. You would have no reason to use on land. So becoming familiar with all of that stuff takes time. And so partnering with an organization like Green Wave or somebody whose goal is to get people involved in the industry is your best bet, because they're going to have the time and resources set up to help you get started, versus like somebody like us. I mean, we could certainly be helpful and point you in those directions, but we're obviously 2 people running a farm on our own, so we don't have all of those resources. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are people that they start farms every day. So
love it. Thank you so much. And I'll go ahead and drop, is the best way for folks to reach out to you just directly through your site, Morgan and Jake?
Yeah, on our website. Yeah, exactly. I see the contact page, hello@nauticalfarms.com also works. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Awesome. And then I want to pass it, Sarah, thank you for that amazing question. I feel like there are so many nuances on the business side of farming too, that it's such a special treat to have insight into while we've got you guys live. So I want to pass it to Sandra. It looks like you have your hand up, and please jump in, share your question. I think you're muted, Sandra. Here, I'll ask you to unmute. See if that works.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
We
Yeah, we
can.
got you.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Good to go.
Good to go. Hi there.
Hello.
So, the question earlier about
Oh shoot, it's
using
breaking.
seaweed as a fertilizer. Hello.
Can you repeat that, Sandra? It was just breaking up a little bit on our side.
Yes, you mentioned earlier about using seaweed as a fertilizer.
Oh, I don't know if the question cut off, but I heard using seaweed as a fertilizer. So I can expand on that, and then hopefully this answers your question. Otherwise, feel free to type it in the chat maybe, and we can catch the second half of it if there is one. But yeah, so seaweed can be used for both large scale agriculture fertilizer as well as in your home plants. It's incredible because it has all of those trace minerals and vitamins that we were talking about before, vitamins A, nitrogen, like all of these things, phosphorus, that are incredible for soil health as well. And so there are companies out there that focus mainly on or solely on agriculture, large scale fertilizers using seaweed. And then there's also companies now, which is really fun. I love like seeing, but people who also are providing seaweed fertilizers in like small little glasses for our like glass bottles for our house plants, which is like so cute and just so fun and exciting. So yeah, there's a wide variety of ways to use it as fertilizer. Some people they have like liquid versions, so you know you just kind of dilute it in water and use it that way, or even powdered versions as well. So there's a couple different ways to actually administer that fertilizer too. And I see somebody asking in the chat, we don't currently sell a seaweed fertilizer, although it is something we actually talk about frequently, and we would love to eventually create our own product. What we do right now is provide our scraps to local hemp farms who use our seaweed as fertilizer, to kind of just like complete that circle. Anything that we can't use ourselves, we try not to waste, and we try to pass on to somebody who can. So hopefully that answers your question. It broke up a little bit. I hope we covered it.
Awesome. That was gorgeous. Thank you so much, Morgan. It's cool to see that like full circle life cycle of the seaweed, zero waste. I love it. Speaking a bit on that, Erin from the chat is wondering, she mentioned that if all of the benefits of kelp catches on and more people use it on farms and for health and biofuels, from where you guys sit as being within the space and farmers and, you know, business owners and entrepreneurs within it, do you think that the coast could take the scale to produce that much kelp to meet the demand? So kind of like, do we have enough space within the natural resources to meet the demand that, you know, kelp and seaweed could eventually scale up into?
Yeah, what I can say, and Jake, feel free to hop in. You may have more perspective as well, especially as a fisherman. But yeah, what I would say is that like, absolutely. It actually takes a really small footprint to grow a large amount of seaweed, which is really cool. So, you know, Jake, and again, maybe Jake is like better with numbers in terms of like the scale of our farm and what we take off of it. But yeah, you don't need a large amount of space to get hundreds of pounds of seaweed. And you can grow, like, you know, we grow 3 different types of seaweed, some which grow 14 feet or more in length in just one blade of seaweed, you know, and so you can get a ton of seaweed in a small space. Our farm right now is about, Jake, would you say like roughly 4 acres? It's not exactly an acre, but you know, it's roughly 4 acres. So we grow up, you know, it's that, and that's, I mean, it's a moderate size, but it's certainly not huge. We could grow a lot more, but it's what we have managed so far. We kind of grow it every year. So yeah, I would say absolutely, like, you know, especially given that our farm is a pretty small footprint and it's 4 acres and we grow as much as we do. And we know that, you know, we can fit so many seaweed farms. And I think, I think the idea or like what I look forward to seeing is that growing and that happening, but individually, rather than industrial size, farms coming in and being the ones to grow all that seaweed. We would love to see that in the hands of your individual fishermen and lobster fishermen and people who live on the coast now, who need that sort of income and that resource as things potentially shift within different fishing industries. Like we're seeing with climate change and a whole bunch of regulations that are changing along the coast. So Jake, feel free to chime in. You may have more to say on any of that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just how many miles of Maine coastline there is. And like Morgan touched on, the potential of one farm and what it can produce. I mean, we're a little over 4 acres at this time, and we're incrementally growing, kind of strategically with the business and not growing too fast to alarm, local communities either. But we do have the potential to be, a 90 acre to 100 acre farm in our current location, just with the footprint alone. But then you can kind of zoom out of Maine on its own. There are other states that are catching on. I think New York is putting in some, there's a few other states that are, they just don't even have the ability to even apply for a kelp farm. So you really, if you live in a different state, might not even have the ability to even go legally do it yet. As those states come online, you're going to open up more coastline. And then there also are some folks we've spoken to in Alaska. It's still a relatively small operation in Alaska, but just imagine the space alone in Alaska in the trades there that have the equipment already to do such a thing. I think, maybe someday the demand, depending on what could catch on to it, theoretically could outgrow, the supply. But I don't think you would have, that much traction to do that. You're not gonna get ExxonMobil to replace, their petroleum with a biofuel made from seaweed anytime soon. If something like that happened, the coast of Maine might not do it, but it's currently right now very early in the stages to look at what we call federal waters here. There's an imaginary line outside of the coast of Maine that is 3 miles beyond any kind of island or landmass in Maine. You get out there, it's called federal waters. We call it the 3 mile line here in Maine. Anybody around here would know what that means. You could go and put a farm out there far enough away from shore that could be hundreds and hundreds of acres and just a blip on the radar. So I think, theoretically, your question probably could hold some weight as far as, demand. I'm not meeting it, but I don't think we'll get there. I think we would have the ability to grow with the amount of ocean that we have at our disposal. As we slowly see fisheries kind of come offline, we slowly see more and more coastline and ocean ground open up.
It's amazing, that transition process. Thank you so much for shedding light, both of y'all, in that realm. So we just have a few minutes left and a wealth of questions. So maybe I'm going to invite in some like rapid fire moments. If you guys maybe each want to take one, we can try and make it through these.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Love it. So one question is just around like nutritional difference between the different seaweeds. Morgan, I know you mentioned there's like thousands of types of different seaweeds, and it's really interesting to think about it. So my guess would be yes, but if you guys have any insights into like nutritional differences within the seaweeds you use specifically, we've got a curiosity there.
Yeah, sure. I'll try to answer this quick. So certainly there are nutritional differences because the structure of every single seaweed is different. So what it can hold is a little bit different. Specifically for ours, the nutritional value is going to be relatively the same. The difference that you will see, or the biggest difference that you're going to see, is in the sugar kelp. Sugar kelp tends to hold a lot more iodine than other seaweeds do. And so it's a great source of iodine. So if that's what you're looking for, sugar kelp all the way. If you're looking for some of the other benefits, but want to be cognizant of iodine for some reason, then maybe an alaria or another type of seaweed that has a little bit less would be better. But that's probably a good short answer for that.
It's gorgeous. Perfect. Thank you so much. Next one is, do you guys have an idea of how many seaweed farms there are in the US at the moment?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not sure in the US. I mean, there are some in Alaska, like Jake mentioned. There's a wealth of them in Maine. I would think in Maine, at least there's a good 30 to 35. if not more. I know of farms, as low on the East Coast as New York and Connecticut. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all to hear that, between all of those states, there's at least 100, if not more. And that's only, seaweed farms. There's also so many oyster farms and mussel farms as well, which fall into this bucket of aquaculture that is like absolutely booming. And we see those all the time as well.
So beautiful. Gorgeous. All right, I'm going to invite everyone, just so we have time to wrap up, to go ahead and reach out with any questions direct, either in the community or also direct to Nautical Farms. You guys have their contact up above. So I'm going to take us off spotlight mode so that we can see everybody, and give a good wave. And let me see how I do this. Gorgeous. We have faces, we have people, look at us. Gorgeous. So from here, gang, we're going to close out just about at the top of the hour, and then if everyone wants to turn their video on, it would be so good to see everyone's faces. But really just leading off with huge gratitude to you, Jake, to you, Morgan, for sharing this work, sharing this knowledge with us. I mean, even in the chat, and we've heard it since your guys' feature is launched, just deep inspiration, like really, really, really profound that you guys are contributing to a healthier way of living and farming and being a part of the solution. So it's so good to see everyone's little faces. I love this. So yeah, maybe Inez, if you want to pop up that graphic, we have some ways that you guys can follow along with their work and stay involved. And really the number one way that, we are so stoked to storytell alongside you guys, and that is just we're really dedicated to, partnering with incredible regenerative farmers who are empowering the movement forward, which is exactly what you guys are doing. And really such a special gift too, that you guys are offering to this community, the Farmers Footprint community, a 20% discount. So if you guys head to their website, Farmers Footprint, all caps, they're so gracious to be sharing that inside scoop, if you will. And we're just here to directly support, the good work that you guys are doing, and are really proud that all of the proceeds are going directly to you guys. So thank you all. You guys have incredible products, and it's such an awesome thing to connect directly with a farmer in your home, in your kitchen, all of that goodness. So yeah, thank you. And then also just giving a shout, at Farmers Footprint, we are sharing these stories via our website, on social, and also, we're hosting chats like these, the Farmside chat, a chance to get closer to farmers themselves in the community. So if you guys aren't already a part of the community, jump in, learn more. We're always aiming to create containers for deeper conversations like this, and also to really get to know each other. A huge part of this work is seeing who else is in the space, getting curious, continuing to learn from other folks within the realm. So I will, thank you so much, Inez, really appreciate that. And I think really from here, I think there's just one final question that I have for you guys, beyond gratitude, is, do you guys have anything that you'd like to share with the group, or maybe one final message that you'd like to imprint on folks as they walk away from this session, shut their laptops, turn off Zoom? What do you want them to go out into the world and know about your guys' work, or about aquaculture in general?
Yeah, thank you, Tori. Thank you again so much to the entire Farmers Footprint team and community. Everybody has been amazing, and this has been so much fun. So we're just like really grateful, and we appreciate the support. There's been a ton of support coming from everyone. So thank you. Thank you. I'll be kind of brief, but I'll just say that I hope that everybody leaves feeling inspired. And I hope that at the very least, you're curious about how you can start using seaweed, and that you go and start researching those ways and fit it into your life, however it makes sense for you. If that means fertilizer in your home plants, and that's how you take care of yourself, then please do that. And if it is adding a little bit of seaweed flake to your eggs in the morning, then please do that. But it's an ever growing and evolving industry. And so, yeah, just kind of keep it in the back of your mind, and kind of watch what's going on. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's happening within the seaweed industry. So, yeah, be open-minded, be curious. Jake, if there's anything you want to add, feel free.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best way to touch on it. A lot of folks ask us, what's the best way that I can support seaweed? And, it's always use more seaweed. Think of ways that you can, involve it include it in your daily routine, whether it's feeding it to your pets, sprinkle it on your food, just looking at ingredients on products, comparing different things, cross-referencing stuff, fertilizer, whatever it may be. You know, if you tried to tell somebody that you just invented some miracle product that had all the qualities of seaweed, I mean, you'd be the most famous person in the world. And it's crazy to think that we've had this thing for, you know, since the beginning of time, basically. And we're only here in the States just catching on to it. The more people that include it in their everyday routine, the better. And the more we'll kind of catch up with the times and try to make up for the lost time that we've allowed this seaweed to just kind of grow and die over the years without taking advantage of this gift from the earth.
So beautifully said. Wow. Wow. Thank you guys. Thank you both so much. Wow. I'm going to release y'all back into the wild. Maya, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation, and everyone from the team who was part of creating the story. And you guys for just doing this incredible work. So thank you. I'll sign you guys off. If everyone wants to stick around and has any extra questions or wants to just like connect and, you know, hear a bit more, oftentimes we watch webinars and then, you know, go off into the ether with inspiration or deeper curiosity. So if it feels useful to you guys today, to jump in and just share some space, ask some questions, light up anything that inspired you amidst this talk, we'll be here. So Jake, Morgan, thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, team. So now we're transitioning into the community roundtable side of things. Yeah, and I actually had something that I wanted to share with everyone. There's a California Seaweed Festival that goes on. So if this is a passion of yours, there's ways to connect with other folks within the realm. Yeah, and if you guys are here and want to turn on your video, we can kind of chat in that way. Or if you're audio only today, no worries, all good in the hood. But really, it's just a space to kind of continue the conversation. And I'm really curious to hear from everyone if something really struck you today about the conversation, or if you're sinking into any curiosities. Just kind of a fun way to kind of keep the conversation going. And if you didn't get to answer a question or ask a question, we can chat through stuff now. I think I see David off mute. David, is something alive for you?
Yes. Just point of information. The ocean has over 100 mineral salts within it. Just think, all of those mineral salts are going into this kelp. What a gift. What a gift of nature and nature's God. They know what they're doing. They want us healthy. They want us to be whole. My gosh, we've got a lot to be thankful for.
So well said, David. Yeah. Wow. And that, yeah, I think that really blew me away when he was talking about how what's happening in the, you know, from kelp and making it into fertilizer is actually more well adapted to hold water. Like the cell structure of the basis of that fertilizer benefits land in a different way than, you know, things that are actually grown on land. And the salt too. Yeah. I mean, the health benefits of that piece. And I also really love that personification of nature a bit of just like, it's so interconnected. Like if you just like kind of like sit and bask in the beauty of that for a moment, like it really is really truly special. Thanks so much for bringing that. Have you tried seaweed? Are you like fascinated with salt and its health benefits at all?
Yes, I have. And you know, it's got a different taste to it. But oh, the benefits are so great.
Couldn't agree more. Love it. And did anything pop out to you from the session? Any particular inspirations?
I'd say for the most part, I've interacted with a lot of the seaweed knowledge they shared. So it's nice to get that reaffirmed, and then hoping to see more of the seaweed based fertilizers being utilized in areas that have drought, like I mentioned. So it's gonna be fun.
So good. So good. Yeah, it is interesting that would be like a fun kind of like through line, like how to tell the story of like water, ocean-based farming supporting drought on land. I wonder how that plays out from like a microclimate perspective too. Like if there's more ocean farming going on, does that impact kind of the amount of moisture that's in the air, the microclimates like around the coastline?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure there's some type of interaction with the soil microbes that's allowed to chit chat with the climate and say like, yeah, we need a little bit more water.
So good. So good. Yeah. Wow. And Sandra, how about yourself? Are you in listen mode, or was there anything that felt alive for you coming off this conversation?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated by everything. I mean, I love seaweed. I normally put it on my rice or my vegetables, but I didn't know it had so many other benefits, like for fertilizer, and you can use it for your plants and all that. So I'm really intrigued with that, and also body products, because I make a lot of body products, So I need to do a little deeper investigation as to how I can purchase some seaweed for my plants and vegetables. So yeah, it is amazing, I'm just amazed by it all,
Right? It's like
And
ocean candy, like the magic from the ocean. That's
exactly,
so cool.
exactly. It's so cool. It's so cool. Yes, I'm very fascinated about that. The body products and the fertilizer. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you
Yeah,
make body
like-
products like to sell, or just kind of for personal use?
Personal, and I'm trying to refine it. I'm still, experimenting with products and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I make a lot of salves and stuff for the body and all that. And I have a very good friend who has a business that she makes her soaps and everything. So it just been fascinated to tune her into all of this too, Or she could make like seaweed soaps and stuff, and bath bombs and things. Yeah. She makes CBD bath bombs. So I don't know, probably seaweed could be a part of it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just have to do a bit of deeper investigation,
Oh my
But
gosh.
it's so fascinating though.
Like hydrating and really relaxing. I love that. Oh my goodness.
Take
Wow.
time, Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure probably could use to be like in a salve or something. I don't know, lotion. I don't know what their body products are like, but I'm going to visit their page and see what I can, what's on there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Here, I'll drop it in
Totally,
the chat for
totally.
you right now.
Okay.
There's that. If you want to check it out. Wow. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, oh, sorry, what was that?
No, I'm just listening.
Oh, I thought maybe David jumped in. Yeah, it's just, I feel like it changes it. Same with like any food or like kind of value added product, like bringing it into your home in like a different way, gives it life beyond just the kitchen. So I actually really love that they lead with that, and their store and like their products made me curious about other ways that farmers could create like non-direct food value added products. I know that it's like common to see like beeswax candles, or goat milks,
Yes.
some of those things.
Yes,
Yeah, but seaweed is just so
Yeah.
innovative, and like, yeah,
It
dig
is. Yeah, it's cool. I'm very intrigued. I really want to do a little investigation to see how I could use it in a salve or something, seaweed salve, sunburns or rashes or something like that. Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
fascinating. Cool. Well, right
Super fascinating.
on. I know. I'm right there
You
with
guys
you.
are the best. I tell you, I really enjoy listening to you guys and the podcast and stuff. I'm really fascinated. Yeah.
So good, Sandra. And
Yeah.
where are you based, and how do you spend your time?
How do I spend my time? Well, if I'm not working, I work at a chiropractor acupuncture center. I'm a massage therapist, but I'm really more interested in doing energy medicine like Reiki and biodynamic craniosacral work, more so. And if I'm not working, then I'm in the garden growing something or weeding or something like that, or helping somebody else doing something with their garden, or somebody needs help doing whatever, yeah. Or I'm cooking, put it that way. I love to cook. And I make a lot of salves. I grow a lot of calendula to make salves and all that stuff. So I'm fascinated with all of that stuff. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm either gardening, cooking, or I'm giving somebody a good massage.
Yes. Wow. Well, that sounds right up my alley on all of those things.
Yep.
So I love that.
And I would like to share that with others, you know what I mean? Yeah. I would definitely love to share that with others, As I remember I was on one of those talks, and one guy on there was saying he wants to give body work and volunteer on a farm or something. You remember a few weeks ago, there was a guy on who uses body work expertise to barter on a farm or something like that. I don't remember his name, but he was talking about that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because I'm sure farmers need massage, right?
More than anything, I can imagine.
We all need massage and body work and energy medicine, right?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, there was a really
it's all the balance,
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, especially how much farm fit, right? Like they're using their bodies. It's not easy on the body over multiple years. You gotta have maintenance and take care.
Spirit,
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk a lot about regenerative farming and the soil and the air and the water, and energy medicine is all energy. Everything is energy, right? Right. So it's like a package, It's definitely a package.
What a gift to bring that to farmers. That's so rad.
I know. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, we'd definitely love to come out to some of these farms and meet some of these farmers one day. You know what I mean? In fact, I'm going up to Pennsylvania at the end of this month to meet with a farmer I met recently at a curtain. We were having curtain in the garden at the cathedral recently in DC, and she's a farmer in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to go help her for 8 days on her farm.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Wait, that is so rad. That's what it's all about, right? So nice to be able to make it out to a farm. You're going to learn so much in that time. And
I'm very much interested in doing that, going to different farms and helping. And if I could exchange my body work or my energy medicine with anyone interested, that's what I really want to do,
Wow.
Yeah.
Good.
So it's open to anyone who wants my services or helping them on the farm and eating all that lovely food, organic food, and
I'm so excited for you. Right? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's gorgeous. Wow. Heck yeah. Okay. I have one final question for you guys before we jump. I know normally we storytell a bit around like land stewards, so kind of focused on the soil, but would you guys be interested in more like ocean-based farming, or like water-based farming, I guess, in a myriad of forms? Like, was the story one, like the first of many for you, or you're like, oh, interesting, but like, let's stick to the soil?
No, I'm open.
Cool.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Love to explore new things. Yeah.
Yeah, so am I.
Right
I'm
on.
open to it.
Cool.
I'm
Love
open
that.
to using seaweed in my garden.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. Awesome.
Oh man. Okay. That's awesome. Good intel for us as we're thinking about like partnering with future farmers and how to keep expanding the conversation and inspiration. So guys, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for jumping in, for sticking around. David, always good to hear your voice. Sandra, such a joy to meet you. Really excited for your Pennsylvania interest. Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
I'm in Georgia right now visiting my cousin. I'm seeing her in like, I don't know, 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
So I left DC to Georgia. So that's where I am right now. And I'm cleaning up her garden because she has no time to do her own garden.
Oh, good for you. That's so kind. I love that. You're just spreading the goodness wherever you go.
Wherever I go, yeah.
Good. All right, crew. Well, thank you so much for jumping in. I'm gonna send everyone back into the wild and have a really beautiful rest of the day.
Inez, right?
Ines, like happiness. Yep.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Sandra. Good to see you, David.
Good to see you. God bless you.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Namaste.
Oh, yes.